Everyone, how you doing? Once again, thank you for joining me. Just in case you're joining me for the very first time, I'm your host, the one they call Brian Glaze Gibbs. I was once the problem. I was lost. I jumped up that porch, wanted to be cool, wanted to be down, and didn't have no true sense of direction. And what I did was, when I jumped up that porch, I got myself in a world of trouble. Trouble is easy to get into, hard to get out. And you know what? When I sit back and think about it, all the stuff that I've been through, and when I watch and see, I wasted 15 years out of my life, want to be down, want to be cool, want to be something that I wasn't. And as you get older and you meet young gentlemen, young people that did it right the first time, that got the SHIT together, you got to give shout out when shout out is due. So right now, what I'm going to do is right now, I'm going to take the time and introduce, you know what I'm saying, right now, Malik Hassan. And what I love about him, he's a co-founder of Changing the Narrative. Go from there, my brother.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Malik Hassan here, co-founder Changing the Narrative. Excited, glad, humbled to be on this platform and ready just to give value.
Okay. And even right now, where it's like, sit back and think about it. Like, look at you. You're the co-founder of Changing the Narrative. First of all, how old you are, man?
I'm 26.
26.
Yes, sir.
So even right now, where it's like, okay, opposed to being a lost soul, a knucklehead out there, wearing your pants saggy, calling females, bitch. Right now, look what you're doing. You doing something right. You doing something legally, and I love that. How did that came about, man?
Really, it came about when I made the decision to create a certain life for myself, right? And really be intentional and take my life into my own hands. And when I made that decision to take my life into my own hands, everything changed. My attitude changed. The way I carried myself changed. My image changed. The way I spoke changed. The way I interacted with people changed. The relationships that I would build changed. Everything changed. So I would say that was the defining moment, which was actually March 26, 2019. Is actually the day that I call it. I was reawakened.
Okay. And even right now, like I say, sometime right now, you talking about, March, what? Say that again. March what?
March 26, 2019.
2019. We talking about 3 years ago. And when I say with that being said and everything's going on in our life or whatever, it's like right now, man, a lot. And I like that and I understand that. Whereas like, look where you at now and look how you got there. I had to go through hell to get where I'm at. I had to go through the penal system. I had to go through trauma. I had to go through pain. I had to go through suffering. And I count my blessing right now is that I woke up before it's extremely too late. But to me, you didn't even have to go through there. Like I always try to tell people my story, I'm like your test dummy. So once again, you don't have to go through the necessary trial and tribulations I've been through. So to me, that's why I tell my story. But you didn't even have to listen to my story. You was able to put the brake on the BS and do it right the first time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm from the South Side of Chicago, right? So, hustle and bustle city, real South Side kid. Not really sure what happened there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm not sure. My kind of went down. But yeah, South Side kid, hustle and bustle city. So for me, I had people in the community that would do a lot of the similar things that, I listened, I read something about your story that would do some of those things. And some of those individuals were in my family, right? So I looked at those individuals and I looked at the life that those individuals were able to create for themselves. And that was never the life that I wanted to create for myself. So I used those individuals as kind of like a roadmap of what not to do, essentially, and I knew for me, I would have to do something different than what everybody else was doing in order to get different results than what everybody else was getting.
And see, you know what? That's smart because you was able to learn from other people's mistakes. And a lot of times right now is when you look at it, and I like that. So even at 26, man, how, what's out there that can get these young kids' attention to stop them from picking up that break, throwing at that multi-billion-dollar prison system, that war for nothing. It's like, what can you share with them? Like, damn, hold up, man. This was the turning point. This is what I saw different. This is what I saw my generation was going at. And I say, no, I'm not going to do that.
Two things: dare to be different. You know, dare to be different, dare to be yourself. I think a lot of the times people fall victim in trying to be like people that they aren't, right? They try to imitate certain figures in their community. They try to imitate certain people they see on TV, and it gets people into a heap of trouble, right? So just dare to be yourself. And just you being you is going against the grain, right? Because I feel as though the culture, society is set up for everybody to be like one another. It's not set up for everybody to be individual and be a creator authentically, right? So dare to be yourself. And then two, exposure, right? I always say, like, what you don't know, you don't know. So it's very important that you start to become intentional and start exposing yourself to different environments, different types of people, in order for you to see different things and have different conversations. And it was actually a large part of my success came with just meeting people from different areas, different walks of life. And people would give me the values that they've learned growing up in this particular part of the world or the region or whatever. And it really helped transcend me, honestly. Like, one of my first mentors was a little Asian guy, all of 5'2". He was from Vietnam, right? He grew up poor, literally, like, didn't even own a pair of shoes growing up, and he taught me a lot. And it just goes to show you that anybody, you can learn something from anybody. So it's very important that you expose yourself to different things instead of what you're used to.
Something that you say to me, and I always say this a lot: all wise men seek knowledge from the creator of the grade. You can learn from anybody if you want to. And another thing, sometimes what we have to do, you have to get uncomfortable to get comfortable. And to me, whereas right now is coming from different walk of life and understanding right now, like people don't understand. It's easy. It's easy to do the wrong thing. Trouble is so easy to get into and hard to get out. And that's what I'm trying to get these kids to understand. So once again, like right now is by you doing it right. What was the what was your discipline? What disciplined you to say, what, listen, man, you talking about, you had family members and friends, that went the round, right? And you was able to capitalize off of that. And no, I'm not, that is too painful. Getting locked down, being away from your family, not doing this, not doing that, or whatever, having my privilege taken away from me. I don't want that. Having right now is because people don't understand. When you go to prison, you enslaving yourself. We all got a big thing about, being in slavery. But the difference is what you think prison is. We enslaving our own self because our behavior, our emotion, our mentality, our belief system. So we putting our own self back where? In bondage.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have to give thanks to my mother. My mother implanted the seeds of discipline within me. I grew up in a very disciplined household. My mom wasn't incredibly strict or anything like that, but she definitely made sure that we learned the principles of myself and my brothers, the household that I grew up in. But she made sure that her children knew about the principles of discipline early on, right? And my it was through those, she planted the seed, and honestly it just kind of just evolved from there. Honestly, a lot of people think that I got my discipline from the military, right? So I had joined the military, you know but it really was my mom. It started in my household first. So got to give credit to my mom as it relates to discipline, and then from there just manifested into something greater.
So you speak about your mom. Was your dad in your life?
No, typical, single single family household. My mom was mom and dad. And later on, I got a stepdad, which my stepdad was great. Growing up, huge help, added a lot of value to my household. But no, my biological father was not in the picture until actually when I became an adult.
And see, a lot of times when you sit back and you think about it, and people don't understand, man. Like I think right now is very, very important to have both parent in the household because it do play a major, major part. Just so happened, fortunate you was able to make the right decision. Fortunate your love and what I'm saying dedication towards your mom was so strong enough it prevented you from going astray, which is great. But a lot of times when you sit back and you think about it, with that single moms, it's hard for a single mom to raise a man. And yet and still look at you. Look at who you became when you basically look what you co-founded. You know what I'm saying? Changing the narrative. And even when
Yes,
I
sir.
got introduced to that, I thought that was deep. And people do not understand right now. It's like, what is that all about? It's like changing the narrative. When you change the narrative, you change the direction.
Yes, sir.
You making your life meaningful. So
Yes,
elaborate off that more, Malik.
yes, sir. So, like exactly what you just said, changing the narrative, right? We're not limited to just one something, but changing the narrative in many different aspects of life. So, like I said, daring to be you, daring to go against the grain, that's you changing the narrative, right? And I always talk about societal norms and expectations that, the culture and society has placed upon the people, going against some of that stuff, because a lot of that stuff is toxic and it keeps you stagnant and it keeps you on a lower frequency. And it's like daring to go against that stuff and just really walk in your purpose. So a lot of what we do is mentoring young adults and community beautification, right? Going into the community, I would hear, Black men aren't a part of the community. So I want to be a part of the change. I want to change the narrative on that. And, whenever I'm in the community, I always wear my military boots, and we call it boots on the ground, right? So I want to show the community that it's okay to take care of your community. I want to show the other brothers, the other younger brothers and older brothers, it's okay to take care of your community, take care of your block, and be of value to your community. So
And like you said right now, is that's what we needed. We needed more of that. We want people to understand. Like, to me right now is you decided, what I'm saying right now. And so who else is like your other partner? Who else is it?
yeah, shout out to Jamari Sharp from Pensacola, Florida, and Kyle Fairweather, brother Fairweather. He's from two places. He's from Miami, Florida, and he's also from Houston, Texas.
All right. Because once again, like you say, when you sit back and think about it, and how did y'all came about that? How did y'all say, you know what, listen, man, this is what we're gonna do? How did
Yeah,
y'all, brainstorm and came up with this whole because it's very catchy,
yeah,
changing the narrative.
yeah. It was kind of excuse me. It was kind of a funny story, like how it came about. So pretty much what happened was myself and Jamari, we were, Jamari would do. So pretty much he invested in a property, North Las Vegas area, and we would be going to we went to go look at the property, and I noticed there was a lot of trash on the block. I noticed there was a lot of homeless people actually walk, kind of on the block, kind of just hanging around. And I would
Mhm.
tell Jamari, like, hey man, like it's not, you can't just do business in this community. It can't just be a transactional relationship. You have to add value to this community. So I would tell Jamar, like, hey, listen, we can go and pick up some get some trash bags and go pick up the trash. We can go and clean up the block, man. Like if you're gonna do business on this block, it's your obligation to take care of this block. And it was through us having those kind of conversations that we decided to create an event called One Block at a Time, where we gathered over 50 volunteers and went to go clean up a specific area, and that was actually one of the blocks that we targeted. But we targeted 3 blocks. We went and cleaned up those blocks, and then we had a big block party afterwards, kind of just again showing the community that it's okay to take care of your block, your community.
Hey, let's okay. Look at this. Look what you just said, right? Now, to me, this man coming in your community and what he's looking to invest in the real estate, get property. And once again, basically, you went to him like, well, and I guess right now you went to him in a respectful manner. But once again, that whole conversation could have went real left real fast because here it is. Wait a minute, time out. Who are you? This is, like a cleaning up what? What the heck you mean? Why do I have to clean anything up? This is the
Right,
way it is. This
right,
is this is your community. I'm coming into the community. But once again, that could have led into gunplay. That
yeah.
could have led into one of y'all losing your life, losing your freedom. But once again, it turned. How can something that could have went left went right?
Well, energy. I'm big on energy, right? Well, my energy was in the right place. It was coming from a place of love, you know, and fortunately, I've been able to surround myself with brothers that hold each other accountable. Accountability is huge, and they hold me accountable, and I hold them accountable. So when I see different things with Jamari being one of my brothers, I felt that it was my obligation to voice my opinion on that matter. And I had to, I felt as though it was needed for me to hold him accountable. And just give my perspective and my opinion, and just let him know, like, hey, I'm not saying, hey, go and do this. I'm saying I'll do it with you. We can do it together. So
But once again, like I said right now, is like that could have went a whole totally
yeah,
different direction,
for
man.
sure, for
So
sure, for sure.
that's what I'm glad. Like, where as far as right now, like, two grown men gotten together and was able to communicate and keep and put things in perspective and make things happen. Because once again, look at y'all guys now. Look what y'all doing now. And that's what it's all about. That how long after y'all, that incident took place, how long did that take before y'all joined forces and say, and who idea was it? You know what? Let's create changing the narrative. Let's create letting people know right now is, guess what? Just because we in this community, that don't mean right now we have to have, that negative outlook on life. That don't mean that we have to have that loser mentality.
Yes, sir. It took about, I would say it took about 4 weeks. Honestly, 4 weeks after we had that conversation, we became very intentional. We got with our other brother Fairweather, and we pretty much told him our idea. He was on board, and we was like, hey, let's get to work. We started leveraging our networks, our connections, and one connection led to another, which led to another, and we were able to bring the city of North Las Vegas on board, bring another big nonprofit organization on board, which is Nevada Partners. And they got with us, and they pretty much loved the idea and told us, like, hey, whatever you guys need, we'll 100% back you guys up. So
And like I tell you right now, look what happened, man. You created a organization, man. And like I said, look at the back and look at the support. And people don't understand that. Like, it is opportunity that's definitely out there for each and every one of us. And like I always try to say, all wise, all men and women, we're rich in our own thoughts and ideals, but it's up to us to put it into effect. So how many people is part of this organization?
right. So like I said, myself, Jamari, and Kaya, we're the ones that lead the organization, but we have many volunteers, many supporters. I don't really have an exact number of people, but pretty much I would say right now we have, our entire community is pretty much supporting us and backing us.
Okay. And which is good. I spent some time out there. I met gentleman, Mr. Twix. He was running for mayor. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think you said Twitch or Stretch.
No, Twix, Robert Twix. He got a bunch of barbershop out there.
Okay,
And
maybe I've run across him.
yeah, he was running for mayor. I met a judge, Augusta, and Massey. So like I told you right now, I like it. Vegas is a nice little spot, man. I liked it when I was out there, whatever. See, people don't even understand, like, it's different part and different section of Vegas. When people come to Vegas, they just think of, bright light city, gonna set my soul, on fire. They only think about gambling. They only think about
Yeah.
prostitution. They only that's all they see. That's all they think about.
Yes,
What
sir.
happened in Vegas, stay in Vegas. But right
Yeah.
now, they don't understand that there's a life outside of that.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people think they just think the strip. A lot of people don't see past the strip. I've even heard somebody say, as they were flying in, they were surprised just that when they were on the airplane flying in, they were surprised at just the sheer amount of houses that they seen as they were flying in, because people only think about the strip. That's what brings the tourists here. That's what the biggest thing that of course fuels the economy here. But it's a lot going on outside of the strip.
There's a lot, man. And even with that being said, like I try to tell you, man, it's all about right now is how. How do we let people know about different organizations that's out there? How can it be beneficial to each and every one of you? And basically right now, how can I probably bring, what I'm saying right now, and change the narrative to my community? I'm saying, to my state, to my city, like getting other people involved. How do we take this and go one state at a time?
Yes, sir. That's definitely the goal. It's definitely to go national and eventually international. We started here in Vegas, but we definitely plan on targeting other areas. We primarily target, underserved communities. But yeah, that's definitely a focus for for the organization.
Yeah. So, and like I told you right now, like to me, I'm impressed. Even when Katique put me on this, shout out to Katique. Like I told you right now, is he's like, yo, man, you got to check this brother out, man, what he's doing. And like to me, automatically mean you had a opportunity to powwow. And yeah, I was impressed because once again, like you say, to me, to be this grounded at 26 is like unbelievable. And those are the things that you got to look at. And those are things that you got to think, you know what I'm saying? You're teaching your upbringing because you able to make the best of it. You able to multiply. You able to make a contribution back to your community.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all about adding value. I live on the principle of adding value. If I'm not, if something isn't adding value to me, I don't necessarily want it in my life. I only want to be surrounded with things that add value. So I make sure that I'm intentional with adding value to every environment that I place myself in. Like I said, I'm not even from Vegas,
Okay, you're
but
from Chicago.
I'm from Chicago, but I live here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's my obligation to take care of this community because this is my home, and add value however I can.
Yeah. And like I tell you right now, man, like I told you, shout out, you doing a great, great job. I'm gonna read some comment. What my girl Renee said, I went to NYAPRS 40 conference and I usually deal with New York City. And I was able to team up with someone I was in a program with decades ago, which he is in New York State, and we work together. That's powerful. But what I'm saying is that's what life is all about. Like, how do we make it? How do we get it together? Jay Lewis, shout out, man. A lot of legal jobs do make people feel like slaves. People need a career or a chance to work for yourself to succeed in the life you want. I wish people have more option to work for ourselves. So even right there with these comments, like, listen, like I told you, the different, like everybody got options. We all got choice. But once again, if we can give a company 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours, you mean to tell me you can't invest 10, 20, 30 hours into yourself? Because once it's there, it's how do we budget our time and use our time wisely? How do we add value to the project or that game plan that you have? You can have $1 million idea, but you know what it is? Some of us is afraid to put it in effect. Some of us afraid to, you know what, I want to do it, but don't know how. Like these days in time, man, you got so many resources that's out there that people are waiting to help you, but you got to know how to dig in, how to go out there and reach and get it.
Yeah, I feel like really just, a lot of times people get so caught up in the how, right? People, have this big vision and this big plan for their lives, and they don't know anybody else around them that has been able to create that life for themselves. Even myself, when I was growing up, I didn't have positive role models. I didn't have somebody that I could tangibly see that create a life that I wanted to create for myself. You know what? But you can't get caught up in the how. You just got to do it anyway. Like
Yeah.
you just got to start. You just got to take a step. Even if you don't know if it's a step in the right direction, you'll learn along the way. You just got to take that initial step and figure it out from there. And one step turns to another. They say the journey of a thousand miles starts with one step. So you just got to take that step, figure it out.
And you can't be afraid. And even right now, like Jay Lewis came back in something that he say I think was kind of positive. Some people are afraid of success. What is the term for that? I think a lot of people have this issue. And you know what? Like I told you, when you're going out there on blind faith, yeah, you are. Like I told you right now, we are afraid of the unexpected. Most of us afraid of dying. You know why people are afraid of dying? Why do you think people are afraid of dying, Malik?
You know what? That's a good question. I don't know.
You know why people are afraid of dying? The unknown.
Yeah.
They're not afraid of dying. They're afraid of the unknown. They don't know what death going to bring about. And I remember right now where it's like when my mother died, I was away doing time and I couldn't go to the funeral. I'm in the hole in the box, and I had to search. And it's like man searching for meaning. And right now is I remember reading a passage that when we die, we only go back to where we came from. I'm like, wow, that's deep. But then again, you start scratching your head. where the hell did we came from? Because you
Right.
know, it's that comfort zone, man.
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
comfort zone. But like I told you, brother, like to me, shout out to everything that you're trying to do. Like I said right now, is do you got any closing remarks?
I would say the only, again, just to reiterate on what I said, dare to be you, dare to take that first step, like Brother Lewis was alluding to, dare to take that first step and, and change the narrative, in whatever form that may be, change the narrative and don't allow society or culture or anybody to dictate the life that you want to create for yourself. You have that power. Your life is in your hands. And that's it.
Hey, listen, Malik, thank you very much. I truly appreciate you. Like I said, right now, on what you're doing, changing the narrative. And right now, what I want you to do is send me over like your link. So what I do is I can put this up. I want you to text to me when we get off. And what I'm gonna do is when I put this piece up, anybody that want to follow you or anybody want to check you out or anybody want to know more about changing the narrative, guess what? They can get directly in contact with you, man. But like I said, right now, keep doing what you're doing. Because once again, hats off, man. You like to see young brothers doing it right the first time, man. And like I tell you
Absolutely.
right now, it's like, like you said, you went to the brother, yo, man, if you're going to buy property over here, you got to be part of the community. You got to clean it up. And man, like I say right now, man, like you say,
Right.
sometimes not what we say is how we say it. So, right now,
Absolutely.
I like that powerful story, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you again for having me.
Hey, everybody, thank you for joining me. Like I say, truly appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe, share. Peace, love, and prosperity. One love.